Yeah, you get the they're good.
80. You got your phone with you? You're gonna be a photographer. You don't need it. Yeah. You're the photographer. 59. No, swearing in when we do the swearing in. Because the paper's not able. I lowered it.
Are you that hot?
Take your sweater off. Yeah. Take your clothes off.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, yeah, that's why you asked me for the camera.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Call for motion. Oh.
Just getting here. You said he's just folding it.
Brian. I'll call the October 16th City Council meeting to order. Call the roll.
Abby Hansen,
Here.
Don Hawkins,
Here.
Megan McFarland. Matt McKinney. Here. Logan Welch.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Stands. Item 1, petitions, communications and requests. This is a time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on matter not on the agenda. Except in case of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but ask city staff to research the matter, have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Anybody? Yeah. Ciara. What do you want? Let's see how it's from the student.
Here, sir,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all duties
discharge all duties
of police officer
of police officer
for the city of Webster City, Iowa,
for the city of Webster City, Ireland,
as now and hereafter required by law.
as now and hereinafter required by law.
Okay, item 2, minutes, claims, reports and licenses. You don't have to stay now. You can come. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine action to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or a member of the audience wishing to have an item removed from this list will be considered on its normal sequence on the agenda. I have A, minutes of October 2nd, resolution on payroll for period ending October 7th and paid on October 13, resolution on bills and approve the fund list. D is a finance report, July 23, August and September. E is city manager reports for September. Police, F is police report for September. G is a fire department report for September, and H is a Hamilton County solid waste agenda packet for October 11th.
Move to approve collectively.
Second, oh, sorry.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 3, general agenda. We have 6:05, public hearing on proposal to dispose of city-owned right-of-way on 3rd Street lying west of Fair Avenue. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No written objections received.
Are there any oral objections?
Received no oral objections.
I'll close the hearing. Okay, there we are.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for your time. So this is just an item in regards to the city-owned right-of-way on 3rd Street line west of Fair Avenue. This item came before you for the vacation, but now we're presenting you with the disposal of city-owned property. City-owned property does require a public hearing, and this public hearing was set at the regular meeting on October 2nd. So this disposal of the right-of-way would just be the 3rd Street line west of Fair Avenue. It's, I don't have a map right there, but
It's
where
right
the
there.
arrow is showing here. So with this, it would be for the development of Quick Start, and what this would do is it would just ensure that when Quick Start acquires the property, that they would be acquiring this from the adjoining property owners that are currently there.
This is an item we've been talking with Quickstar for the better part of, started off last summer. So they're working through the process, have agreements in place to purchase the properties for their project, which is several properties they're gonna have to merge together. So this is an overview of their plan, their site plan, and you kind of see how Fair Meadow, which is just here to the right, kind of comes in. One of the things that has come up, or that we've really been kind of mentioning over the past several months and process of their plan, was the potential for traffic impact along Overpass Drive as it comes around the curve. You have in front of you an outline of what their circulation patterns look like, but it doesn't show semi-traffic or semi-truck traffic coming in, traveling eastbound. They just show the turning movements for vehicles traveling westbound and coming in and out. These here are the diesel pumps that will be serving the larger vehicles and semi-trucks coming out. Quickstar did work with Snyder and Associates on doing a traffic impact study. We just met with them this afternoon on the draft and some of the recommendations. As it is right now, based on the traffic numbers and the estimates of what they may be generating at present day, there isn't a warrant to make any significant additional improvements, but it did highlight that as the community and as Quick Start gets built out, there may be a need in the future. Estimate based on projections could be in around 2040 that there could be a need for additional traffic improvements by way of turning lanes, both to navigate eastbound traffic, but primarily the concern would be for left turning vehicles, particularly navigating from the westbound, traveling eastbound, coming up Overpass Drive. And so one of the things we're navigating now and talking with Quickstar is we have some additional information we're trying to verify and get from them. Part of that may also include the development of some sort of agreements between Quickstar and the city for mitigating the potential traffic improvements. Now, whether that happens more recently or in the near future, I would say, or whether that happens later on in the future, that'd be up for discussion in the future. But you can kind of see how the pattern movements are. Your packet also includes an overlay of Google Earth imagery to kind of see how the driveways line up. One of the big concerns that the traffic impact study didn't really address was one, the sight line and the elevation of the Overpass Drive right at their northern driveway. That's where the elevation for Overpass Drive starts going up. One part of why that's important is because the elevation and the slopes for the grade change at the overpass are such that it may make it difficult to be able to build out a left turning lane in the future. So that's something that, at least for the city's perspective, we're concerned as to how that will be accomplished in the future. The other image next shows how that aerial fits in with grade and elevation changes shown there. Subsequent pictures are Google Earth street images. So you can kind of see one of the concerns as your vehicles traveling eastbound as they come up Overpass Drive, the potential of coming up against vehicles that are stopped waiting to make a left-hand turn as traffic moves in and out of it. We've certainly seen the traffic that has been generated at Quick Star on Fair Meadow. This certainly has the potential to generate additional traffic than what's currently there and we see on Overpass Drive. And certainly don't know what their trip numbers or what their vehicle numbers are for Fair Meadow or what they're expected to be here at this site. So, but that's a concern we have is as vehicles are traveling eastbound, what the potential for issues that would occur with left turning vehicles, particularly semi trucks that will be backed up and the slope of that. So I would make the recommendation that based on the information we learned today, we council move forward with approving the disposal of the vacated right of way contingent to an agreement being adopted and executed with Quick Star for whatever potential improvements may be. We're generally open to considering a wide range of options, but the concern is to mitigate the potential for that. Or whether that's done in a manner that can be executed in the future, but just to have that agreement in conjunction with the development process that Quick Start moves forward with. If you have any questions that I or John from Steiner and Associates can kind of touch on, but like I said, this is something that really came up just today. We had the chance to sit down via Zoom with Quick Start to discuss the draft and the recommendations that were outlined in there. While they're not many, they are significant, and we obviously know what the traffic patterns have been since Quick Start has gone in, and we know what the traffic patterns are for Overpass Drive coming in there. So.
So do you want to do a resolution authorizing disposal of city-owned right-of-way with a contingent?
Yeah, I don't know how, Zach, what do you recommend, how they word that, if that's their option?
Yeah, you could say like contingent on a development agreement, maybe enter into it, you could say contingent on if there's something specific you want to see them do. You could table it. You do a lot of things.
I don't think we should table it. I mean, there's no reason why. That gives you more time to.
But you don't have a recommendation with that agreement.
And here's the deal, if you don't table, if you say you're gonna pass it contingent on agreement, you're gonna bring it back anyway. You're gonna be back because you guys can't enter an agreement without you guys taking it up at council anyway.
Yeah, so the matter will come back to you regardless on that side of it.
Unless, like I said, unless you have something specific that you say.
Well, that was gonna be my question. Do you prefer there be an agreement with, near future improvements versus just an agreement that improvements, I mean, if you leave it open-ended.
I think I'm comfortable if you wanted to leave it open in right now with just an agreement to be executed that addresses the city's concerns. And so unless you have a preference to see those concerns mitigated nearer term or long term, I don't think I personally don't have a preference one way or the other. I think we can still accomplish an agreement that satisfies and resolves the concerns that we feel are present there.
Okay, so you want to
Resolution authorizing disposal of city-owned right-of-way on 3rd Street lying west of Fair Avenue contingent on agreement with
Quick Star on the development concerns.
of the city.
Correct.
Is that what you?
I'm fine with that.
Me too.
Okay, you want to make them?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
B is a resolution authorising the Director of Parks and Recreation to seek bids for materials associated with the splash pad project, authorising the splash pad committee to select best proposal and authorising the mayor to sign and execute a purchase order or the purchase order.
Good evening. Before you is a request to adopt a resolution for city staff to seek bids for materials associated with the splash pad project, authorizing the splash pad committee to select the best proposal and authorizing the mayor to sign and execute the purchase of materials. The assistant city manager and myself began fundraising efforts to help offset capital costs associated with the project in August. In addition, staff successfully secured a $55,000 grant from the Iowa Economic Development Authority with the contingency to complete all fundraising efforts within 90 days of the award. Currently, the city has received the following funds towards the splash pad project. Hamilton County Board of Supervisors, $40,000, Seneca Foundry, $50,000, Webster City Custom Meats, $25,000. People's Credit Union, $5,000, AC Nielsen, $5,000. Private individual donations have totaled to $3,690, and then the Iowa Economic Development Authority CAT grant at $55,000. The total amount raised to date is $183,690, with the engineer's cost opinion of $448,550. And if no additional dollars are raised towards this project, it is anticipated that the city will pay $264,860 towards the completion of the project. To date, the city has paid $25,037.63 in engineering services associated with the project. The request for proposals on materials will request proposals from vendors in an amount not to exceed $135,000. The materials that will be purchased are approximately 20 water components, a controller with valve manifold and hand activated bollards, virtual control training on startup and winterization, and seasonal drain valve diverter between the storm sewer and the sanitary sewer. If continuing, our timeline shows to begin construction mid-May, with construction completion on June 30th. So today, staff is seeking authorization from council to proceed with issuing the RFP for materials in an amount not to exceed $135,000. Allow the splash pad committee to select the best proposer and authorize the mayor to execute the purchase order of materials. Also know that staff will return to the city or return to city council to seek authorization to formally bid out the construction contract associated with the concrete pad and installation of splash pad components, the new shelter and sidewalks associated with the project at a future council meeting.
So I just have a couple of questions. One, with this being split between the actual components and the construction, are we going to wait on executing the equipment before we know what construction costs are? I mean, I've seen at times where we're surprised and it's double what we expected. I can't say that I would anticipate that, but.
Yeah, currently the process that we're following is sending out the bids for this, the components, and then we'll send out another bid for the construction. So we can hold off on purchasing the products, but at the time, the products are only going to continue going up. So that would be something that we would need to discuss now if that's how you want to move forward. Is if you want to wait, or if we want to purchase and then send out the RFP, or if it's something that you want to send out both RFPs at the same time. But we can't send out the second one until we get the design, which will be supplied with this first RFP.
I get that. I'm just a little bit uncomfortable proceeding forward with buying equipment before we know what construction costs are, especially since we haven't raised the full amount. Do we have a plan on how if it comes in as we as the bid estimates, or not bid estimates, but as the estimates from the engineers, how we're going to pay for the additional at this point anyway? Do we have we figured out exactly where we want those funds to come from?
No, we haven't determined where those specific would come. The more likely source for that could be from local option sales tax lost to cover that, based on the change that was done with the ordinance that allows for it to go to park and recreation amenities.
Okay.
So it wouldn't come from property tax revenues, and we do have somewhat of a healthier balance on lost, and so certainly that's something that can be programmed.
Okay. How long after that are we anticipating? So we get basically the bids back for the equipment, which will help determine the design. Am I understanding that correctly based on how much we can get for the money?
So by December 4th, we'll set a public hearing for the construction contract award. And then we will issue notice to bidders on December 5th. By January 15th, we will have a public hearing and award of the construction contract.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I should back up a little bit. On November 21st, we'll receive proposals from the splash pad manufacturer. And then on the 27th of November, we'll evaluate the proposals and make a recommendation.
We've only got 90 days,
No, I
To
know
take the
that. I heard that
55,000.
part. Yeah,
so that sort of puts a time limit on.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I think with the amount of people that have donated money towards it, it's
Right.
obviously something it's wanted, so.
no, I get that. I just wanted to, I guess, to put it out there. It makes me a little uncomfortable not knowing what the.
Yeah, it's sort of-
construction is.
But. Yeah, I mean, done a great job so far, so it's,
Thank you.
Been a lot of money raised. It's very, very.
Yeah.
Nice to have that many donors.
John, do you know since this is mainly concrete projects, have they stabilized or are there still a lot of volatility with that?
Not as much volatility as the last few years, but it's still an upward trajectory.
Like everything.
It's not just concrete, it's
Sure.
labor costs are probably even more of an upward trajectory thing.
Brandon's pouring another slab. What you saying? Pipe sticking up in this one. A lot of pipe sticking up through this one. Okay.
Any other questions we can address the council may have?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
One of the concerns, and I think we touched on it in the last meeting, is regarding the use of water and the controller that is going to be programmed in such a way, all of them are the way that they're push activated, and so the splash pad isn't running and active all the time. Each component, each spray only operates for a certain length of time and then shuts off. So while the splash pad hours may be established and fixed, each individual splash pad has to be activated and only operates for a certain period of time.
And we can shut it down like at nighttime still, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
We'd also, if we run into, if for whatever reason, we can also control and limit the period of the year in which it runs and the hours to shorten that up if it's something that we feel necessary to control whatever costs associated with that.
I mean, it is an internal cost. It's not an external cost, so it is getting shared between departments, so.
Yeah, the major cost of electricity and water associated with its operation. Those are all utilities that the city owns and operates, and so they're internal costs to the city.
Okay. Who wants to make a resolution?
Vote to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, C is a resolution authorising the mayor to sign and execute change order number 1, sign and execute change order number 2, sign and execute change order number 3, and approve pay application number 4 for the Lincoln Drive reconstruction project. Derek, you got this one?
Yeah.
Lucky man.
Good morning, Mayor and council members.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
It's Friday, you are right. It's tomorrow morning.
John's fine, the rest of us, we've been awake for a few hours.
So the Lincoln Drive project is slowly coming to an end. There's very little that's actually left on that project to get finished up, and that's to remove the stormwater pollution prevention at when the vegetation hits 70% growth, and then the little bit of punch list items that are left. With that, payment is recommended to Doyle Construction for the amount of $569,678.24. That's shown in the partial payment app number 4, which reflects 100% of the work by value. They've used 85.5 of the 82.5 working days through this pay estimate. And then change order number 1 was due to 3 different companies doing directional boring, Platinum Connect, MediaCom, and the line department all went through the storm sewer with a total of $8,088.50 being split 3 ways between the 3 of them. And then change order number 2 was an additional curb and gutter replacement along Elmhurst. This adds half a day of additional work to the contract. In the amount of $1,496, which half of that will be reimbursed by Black Hills. And then change order number 3 includes additional water main service replacement and temporary service at 531 Lincoln Drive. During construction of the water main, the service line 531 Lincoln Drive was needing to be tied over to the new water main. The service line was believed to tie into the water main that feeds the new water main. When the final tie-in was completed, it was noticed that the home did not have any water. During a temporary service line was necessary to feed the home with water to allow the contractor to connect the water main the next working day. This change order adds additional one day to the contract. And then we recommend change order number 3 in the amount of $3,000.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Call for motion.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
D is a resolution providing for notice of hearing on proposed plan specifications, proposed form of contract and estimate of costs for construction of the Fairmeadow Drive reconstruction project for November 20th at 6:05 p.m.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So this item is related to the Fairmeadow project in which we will be widening the road and adding a turning lane. There is new water main associated with this project, some storm sewer and sanitary sewer. In addition, we are going to replace curb and gutter here behind City Hall, as well as redo those drive aprons. And then redo the drive apron behind the Freeman Journal parking lot. And also tie in the long-term plan is to pave all of the cemetery roads. So we're going to tie in a chunk of that as well. We're just requesting that you authorize us to set the public hearing so we can issue the notice to bidders. And that public hearing would be scheduled for November 20th at 6:05 p.m.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Petey. Item E is a resolution authorising street department supervisor to make line repairs to the sanitary sewer collection system by Hydro Clean with not to exceed the amount of 300,000. Brandon?
Yeah, so the fall of 2022, we reached an agreement with Hydro Clean for sewer services for sanitary and storm for the cleaning, televising and root cutting. Typically in the years past, we have in our CIP done spot repairs with slip lining and had anywhere from 250 to 300,000 in that budget. What we're asking for this go around is as part of that 3-year contract that we reached with Hydro Clean was to add slip lining as part of that contract. So we're asking to use that 300,000 out of the CIP, so it's pretty much come from a different GL number to that contract with Hydro Clean for slip line repair. Slip line repair is obviously the way to go. Now, I did get one estimate for, I think I already got for over almost 3,500 feet of slip lining, and it's only 192,000. So we're going to be able to get a lot of repairs done. Typically we work with John and Schneider Associates, but with how the contract works now and slip lining, I think this would be the way to get a little bit more done, save a little more money, go a little bit further.
Okay.
Move to approve. Okay.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item F is an resolution authorising the street department supervisor to execute a contract with Denco Highway Construction for crack sealing.
Yeah, so this, we kind of with our existing procurement code, it does not require that professional services be completely bid out. Crack sealing is a specialized technical professional service. And we would like to use their services again this year. They did over $100,000 worth of concrete crack sealing last year. I thought they did a fantastic job. With that being said, we do have it in the CIP or CEP to purchase our own crack sealing machine. I'm already starting to work on that currently. So moving forward, we hopefully be able to take care of crack sealing in-house. So
You're gonna have time to do that.
we're gonna make time.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item F is resolution authorising street department supervisor to execute a contract with, G is a resolution authorising street city manager to sign and execute a purchase order for repairs to the street department 938M wheel loader. Is there two parts to that then? For the other piece?
You have with one option, it's one, it's just,
There's two options.
You mean to repair this? No, but there's
the,
two options to repair this or to buy a new one.
no, I think he included the memo from when it was purchased a few years ago, for reference.
So this failure occurred during the process of putting out the smoldering wood chip pile that we battled for over a month. During this time, both of our wheel loaders were working 8 to 14-hour days, moving wood chips from our large pile to a temporary hose down area to where we ended up in an organized windrows. Our Cat 938 wheel loader threw a code. It was on Friday or Saturday, nearly halfway through the process of moving the wood chips, stopping it dead in its tracks. At this point, we had a Cat service technician go over and diagnose the problem and see if it could be repaired on site, but we're hopeful for. Upon further investigation, the technician advised us that he needed to take it to Fort Dodge for further investigation. At that point, Hamilton County Secondary Roads hauled the wheel loader over to Fort Dodge, helped us out there, which we greatly appreciate. There it was found that the fork plate had broke, causing hydraulic failure and fines throughout the system. The wheel loader became out of warranty December of 22. So this is a tough one because we're right outside that warranty window. It doesn't have a whole lot of hours, and that's one thing that the technicians kept saying. I mean, I kept asking, is there something we did? You know, what caused this? So a lot of questions were asked. It's a new machine. It costs a lot of money. And I get, you know, I looked at how much we spent on the machine and how much they're looking for repairs. So Ziegler over in Fort Dodge offered us two solutions. One of the solutions was it's a spendy one. But I want the two pretty much separate options. You really got to pay attention to, I mean, what they're doing to the lines. So option one, they're going to send the pumps in to inspect, disassemble them. If the pumps and valves need to be rebuilt, then that's what have or replaced. That's what they'll do. They were going to remove the hoses and clean and reinstall. So pretty much an example I could use is they're going to take all the hydraulic hoses off and they're going to swab them. So when they talk about glitter fine particles in the hydraulic lines, they're really fine, really minute. And there's a couple different ways you can get rid of that. You can swab it and 100%, not 100%, but a lot more confident that you got all the fines out of it, or you can kidney loop it, and that's part of option two. So option one, the total on that is $88,229. Ziegler is willing to cover 50% of that cost. Due to the low hours and just being out of warranty, they're going to cover 50%. They're covering 50% of that. Option two is instead of swabbing the hydraulic lines and all that, they're just going to clean the hydraulic tank, install new hydraulic filters to the machine and replace the hydraulic oil. And then they will what they call kidney loop it, where they put a finer micron filter, new hydraulic oil, they run it through the system. Our wheel loader is a hydrostat piece of equipment. So everything from the steering wheel to reverse, forward, the bucket, all of it's ran through hydraulics. So when something fails, it affects everything. So you really got to pay attention.
That is a $14,000 fix. Half of that, you're looking at about a $7,000. So the most expensive one, at our cost, the city would be 44,000 roughly. Option two, the cheaper fix is 7,325. Staff is recommending we move forward with option one due to the fact that if we keep our wheel loaders roughly 15 to 16 years. And there's no guarantee option two is going to solve the problem for the extended lifetime of the wheel loader. Like I said, CAT is paying half of the bill due to the low hours, and it's just out of warranty. They did say, I just said, well, what happens if something like this occurs again? Are you gonna help us out? And they said, you know, no, they're gonna hold like a 1-year warranty on parts and labor with the repair. My biggest concern is if, you know, this happens in 1 or 2 years, we end up eating a larger bill, more than 44,000. That's what I'm concerned about. Although option two is more cost effective, there's a potential that the wheel loader will have limited reliability during snowstorms. With glitter and glitter-like fines, they also mentioned that this could be stuck in valves. So option two, that they're not swabbing the lines, pretty much they're just kidney looping it. They say you do run a risk, which may not ever happen, but you can get one of the fine particles that stick to a valve. And what that means is if you're raising the bucket up, it gets, you know, fine particle gets stuck in there, and that won't go down. I turn the loader to the left, it won't go back to the right. So these are worst case scenarios. We all know how this works. If it's gonna break, it's gonna break when you need it the most. So just like what happened the other day, we needed it the most. We're not loading trucks. We're not just hauling rock. We had a smoldering fire that needed to be taken care of, and it broke down. So my worry is if we go with the cheaper fix, will it fail in the middle of a snowstorm when we need it the most? That's my concern. I understand it's a tough topic because it is very expensive for a machine that's not that old. I totally understand.
Did you ask anyone else about anybody else that runs machinery like that?
I reached out to the Hamilton County mechanic, Ryan Prusman. We talked about it. I was frustrated because it was so new. He was kind of like, stuff like this happens. If you buy a new car and stuff like that, that stuff's gonna happen. I am not a mechanic. I'll be first to admit, I'm trying to learn this as far as a lot of his recommendations. I know Cole's moved on, taken another position, another job. I sat down with him, asked him what he recommended we do for the long haul. And this was also a recommendation from him.
I called my son in Australia that works on these machines every day.
Okay.
And they run about 7,000 hours a year in theirs. And he said this is going to fail again.
It will.
Yep, absolutely. It's the wrong transmission for what you're working. So that's another option next time you're looking at one. You might not want to have that particular transmission, he said. So, okay. But he said it's guaranteed it'll do it again. It'll buy another plate. But just, you know, it's just in time. And it's more, you get a lot of the problems with backwards and forwards. If the guys aren't coming to a complete stop before they put back and forward, that's the worst thing can happen with it. The other type of transmission will put up with a lot more of that.
Okay.
But he said, I said to him, you know, I showed him the whole thing, and he said, I'd go with option two. He said, you're not gonna gain anything by doing everything they're gonna do with it. And I mean, that's just what it's worth. It's not worth, you know, but he does, that's what he's been doing for the last 10 years, is working on this stuff. But
yeah.
that's like you say, it's a tough one.
It is, because I had actually.
And either way, you're getting covered, but we are going to be in it, by the sound of it. It may not be one we want to keep for 20 years if it fails the next time. I mean, that'd be something we might want to.
Yeah, I reached back out to Ziegler Pat again today. I spoke to a different person at CAT. I said, yeah, what do you recommend? I had the first said, you know, he'd roll the dice with option two. This guy's like, I would go with option two. You just don't know.
No, it's you know, we're lucky we're getting half 50% covered. So I mean, that's. But he said his recommendation was you do the kidney glue, but at the same time, see, they go into the tank and they'll put, because you can take the plate off the tank and put magnets in there.
Apples in them too, so.
Well, they go in and put a couple of magnets in there, so they pick up more of the refines, and then they also, straight after do the kidney, you get a finer lube filter and put on them. So the next 3 oil changes, they speed up the oil changes and they put a fine filter on for the next 3 times.
Yeah.
Which they probably told you that we're gonna do anyway.
Yeah, correct. And that's what I said we would do anyway. We would shorten up that time frame in hours.
Yeah.
The hours and miles, we would shorten up that.
Yeah. And see, even with them cleaning everything, then it's not gonna be perfect by any means, because you can't get to every piece of it. So. I mean, it's like your body, in a lot of ways it is. It's trying to get every one of those veins out. And
On option 1, are they putting in kidney lube on
he just said they were going to run the machine.
I would like to think they did that on that one as well, but
Yeah.
it? I think they do it on both of them regardless.
but they're expensive machinery. I mean, it's
How much did it cost?
Like 170.
170. They're a lot more than that now. They're 200 and friendly 300 there, I think now.
Could do 290.
Yeah. Bit more expensive than your car.
Can they just take half off a new one? You just buy a new one?
Yeah.
Give them this.
Well,
one.
here's the deal. I actually have it in the CEP this year. Hopefully it's for not that one. So, I suppose we could go down that road of, I mean, it's a lot of money.
Well, you're not gonna be able to sell it while it's broken down, so you gotta fix it one way or the other.
They did say that, as far as the repairs go, option 1, you're looking at a month and a half. So I have a deadline for snow equipment to be on and inspected by November 12th.
How quickly can they do number 2?
2 weeks.
Maybe that's a good enough reason to take it.
So what I'm hearing is option 1, it's not guaranteed either though, right? That it'll fix it.
You could still have.
Well, it'll be a lot better.
Option 1, I think you get a better likelihood of it not happening. I'm not saying it won't.
Yeah.
But your chances are a lot higher. Option 2. There's more of a chance that it can't and will happen.
Okay.
My son said you're lucky that none of the big pieces went through, so you're lucky there. So
And that's why that's the first gentleman was glad he found it all in one location. But also I've had other mechanics tell me it's so fine, those are hard, you just never know where they're at, what they're already in. I don't know. I mean, it's. Like I said, it's a tough topic because it's rather expensive for that new of a machine. And it's things we're just out of warranty.
yeah. Well, it's over to you girls. What do you want to do?
See, this is my specialty, don't you know?
Exactly. You work at the hospital, don't you?
Yeah,
Man,
in the
this is
building.
a hospital thing.
And you're trying to get how many years out of it?
20.
We've been getting 16.
Yeah.
How old is this machine?
Gonna say the old one.
It's,
15.
2018.
5 years. So you've got
So-
another 10 years to go and try to run it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we have hydraulics for 30 years and I've had pumps go out and dump a bunch of crap in the system. I'd spend that 88,000. If you expect this to last you another 10 years, because if you don't. But I'd also ask them to put a kidney loop in it.
Yeah,
And
it needs to
that's-
have that as well as the other because. Which I'd like to think they were gonna do that anyway, but
So they may have, I can find.
yeah, that's fine.
I was looking at it
It's-
online and it didn't show anything about kidney. loop. Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't,
No, it didn't on the first quote.
so we probably, just because of the cost, we didn't ask the question if we were to trade it in. What, I mean, I know it's not running right now, but they're offering to pay half of the fix. What they'd give you for it on a new one.
Well, they're gonna deduct the price of that on the thing for sure, but I mean, you could ask the question, but the trouble, you could sell it at auction and get decent money for it, but just doing it with them, they're not gonna.
You can put
I
the
mean-
debit in and sell it.
That's what I was gonna say. Do option 2 and then sell it,
You could do,
get it running.
I don't know.
but can you get a new machine in another month? Let's say, so that's your.
No, you'll probably have 6, 8 months.
Yeah, exactly.
I think on a new one, he stated. Or, I think he said if I ordered one. This month, it would be next spring sometime.
You guys will be doing a shoveling.
So, yeah, I mean,
If you want to go with option 2 or. Option 1.
You know, the one thing about the costs is I kept trying to recall where we bought it from, or in terms of what funds we bought it from. Typically, most of the equipment the street department uses, a bulk of it comes out of road use tax. If I remember correctly. I don't remember where your newer lower is gonna come out of. And so that's part of the intent of that fund, is to support the operations and expenses for equipment related to street department operations and maintenance. So you continually get that revenue. So it's not like you're taking away from general fund property taxes that goes and serves other general funded departments like police or fire.
It's only 44,000. It's not that big area. It really isn't. When you talk a machinery like this, it really isn't that.
No,
That's your 10 years.
I know, but my hardest thing is, like I told sales, because we're gonna be looking at a new one here. Yeah. As a salesman, they're kind of, it doesn't look good, but that's why I reached out to the mechanics and. Because I was upset, that this happened, but everything, wherever you buy breaks, there's parts that fail.
Yeah.
So,
They've got 79,000 hours on their newest one.
yeah,
It's on a third engine, but everything else. Really. It makes your hours look, when you. But time is a killer too. It's not just the hours. The years.
and like you said, I mean, these loaders, it's not like we're tracked down. You're forward and reverse articulating up and down the bucket.
Well, that's all they made to
I mean,
do.
that's what they're made to do. So,
And then it's all hydraulics for the front.
yeah.
Everything's internal, brakes and everything.
Yeah, so for perspective for the council, in terms of the next wheel loader that was, Ms. Brandon said, is scheduled in the CEP. That one's estimated at 290,000. The revenues that will be used to purchase that, majority of that is road use, 200,000 and $100 of that. The remainder portion will be split out between water and sewer. And that's mainly because of the use of the loader used when doing water main repairs and other underground street projects. So
I did just get an updated price for that specific machine 2 weeks ago. And it's $290,000, I think $638. So.
And this one is to replace a different loader.
how old is that one?
It's
It's a John Deere. Actually, I have it up here somewhere.
At the 07.
2007. So 15 years out of that one.
I think we should go with option 1.
Do I have a second?
You want to make that motion?
Yeah.
Option 1?
Yeah.
I'll second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Brandon.
All right, thank you.
Item H, resolution authorising the mayor to sign and execute an agreement with SCS Engineering for professional engineering services needed to apply for IDNR permits, and authorising the mayor to sign and execute purchase order with Air Burners Incorporated.
So this item is related to our grass waste, or green waste site, and specifically to our wood waste mulch pile. I'll kind of give an overview in terms of where we're at, as soon as I get this running. So based off the last council meeting, when BD gave you all an update, the council at that time decided to pursue the purchase of electric incinerator. And so we got an estimate today. And so I'll kind of give you an update on that one here shortly, but we've been in touch with the DNR regarding the construction permit and the timeline for submittal, as well as we've been looking at other outlets for disposing and hauling off of some of the existing wood mulch. But one of the big things, I think, as we mentioned 2 meetings ago, was just in talks with the DNR. They kind of gave us this 12-month deadline before they come back and review and see where things are at. So, but they certainly wanted to see progress being moved forward. The air curtain incinerator, the one that's I'm recommending the city pursue is their larger unit, S330. That one, when I initially had spoken to the vendor at Airburner, he had indicated that many entities purchased a smaller one, thinking that will suffice their needs, and then they quickly realized just the capacity and ability with a bigger unit to be able to burn more efficiently, whatever. Mainly on the diesel side, whatever you save on diesel and operating expenses, by going with a smaller one, you end up eating up on diesel fuel and other equipment such as a loader or an excavator, and loading the equipment multiple times with a smaller unit. And so he had recommended to us just the efficiency of going with the larger one. The federal contract price and the quote he gave us today was roughly about $239,000. Something around there, total, all inclusive of both the cost of the incinerator. There is a rake that can be attached to a skid steer or loader to haul out the ashes, and then training and startup associated with getting our team oriented with that. So, but again, just to recap, part of what the council directed us to look at was the electric option. For instead of going with the diesel, this will be more of a permanent installation. And so staff have been working at were to be able to position that piece of equipment. Brandon worked with our electric utility superintendent, Adam Dickinson, to look at site as well as the power to be able to run out there. Approximately, Brandon indicated about $7,500 worth of material to run the electrical equipment. That's with the wire, pole, the transformer to serve it, things of that nature. And so this green outline here on the image shows the approximate location of where we would like to locate it. It is going to be on the far northeast corner of the site, and so far enough away from the buildings, from the street department building. So the DNR permit, it would take about 90 to 120 days for the turnaround time for the construction permit. This is what refers to as the EPA's Title V air quality permit. It's required since it's a burner. And so there will be some technically emissions or particles that can be released. And so that's what the permit looks at and analyzes what type of particles and what the limits are. But those typically are seen from much larger power plants or other industries that will send out a lot of emissions. And so that's why the requirement is there. But as you guys heard from the gentleman from Michael Schmidt from Airburners, typically what they've seen is with these units, they're very minimal residual that you see smoke coming out of there. So, but it's a process regardless that we have to go through with the DNR. Total permitting costs roughly about $3,000 paid upon completion. With engineer, we got a couple. I'm sorry, it's permitting costs of the DNR. The engineer costs, we heard back from 2 engineering firms, SCS Engineering and Terracon. Both have experience, I believe. One I know for sure works with I believe our solid waste agency or the landfill out of Fort Dodge. So here you see the cost for the engineering for the permit application and then the operating permit application. So we got 2 permits that we've been looking at, the construction and the operating. They both engineering firms can assist us with that. Terracon is at $15,000. SCS Engineering is $11,000 for their assistance with that. just a general update in terms of where we're at with the piles. Brandon and his crew had been calling a number of businesses and farmers that may be interested in taking some of the wood waste or composted waste. And so they've hauled off approximately 480 yards so far out to that. I know that Brandon and Beatty tomorrow night, they will be presenting before the solid waste, the North Central Solid Waste Agency in Fort Dodge tomorrow night to talk about the potential of them accepting the wood grindings that have been broken down and whether they requesting that they would waive the tipping fee associated with that. So once we kind of hear from that will kind of determine what really are going to be our options. If they say no or they don't provide a waiver of it, then we'll have to reevaluate to determine what that cost will be or what other options we'll have available for that. But that's something we've been waiting for the better part of the last 30 days. Current map of the site, here, not much has changed in terms of its layout. One of the things that's not noted on the map, so I directed staff, what we're going to be doing moving forward is we're going to be separating the tree waste that's generated by our own city operations, being the line department, the parks department, the street department, whenever they're picking up tree limbs off the roadway or things of that nature. And so we're going to start categorizing that and separating that into a different pile than with a general waste as it comes in. That's just a way for us from here and into the future, being able to track and monitor that and be able to measure to know how much we generate ourselves as a city versus what the public is. Because right now you just see the large piles, but we don't really have a good way to distinguish what comes in from residents and contractors. So that's a part of that we want to do. We still haven't there has been a list of the moratorium. We do have, as noted in the outline, we can accommodate some space. I know that we continue to get questions for the public about when we would open that up. I will leave that to the council if you think we should start opening that up. We have seen just customers, residents coming in, still dumping some of the leaves and the grass, but there is a desire in the public to be able to open that up. The concern is still there. If we open up and lift the moratorium, how quickly we'll fill up, and the ability to control and regulate that will be difficult. So I think leaves are starting to fall, so we're going to start seeing more and more leaves being dropped off, and potential for other trees that are being cut down or in the process. So but that's an update, and I'll just go back to this slide in terms of the resolution for the engineering services. You see what those costs are, so I'll leave you if there's any questions that we can answer or address.
So we can execute the purchase agreement for the unit before the construction piece is approved, before the construction permit is approved. Or are we holding off on executing that until that? I mean, is there any reason why they wouldn't approve the construction permit?
I haven't heard of a reason why they wouldn't approve it, but we just put that into the resolution to save time. So once we get that construction permit, if it were to come in at 90 days, or maybe it comes in at 60, then we don't have to wait till the next council meeting. We just have authorization. The mayor can go ahead and sign that purchase order.
Okay.
That time.
And to my knowledge, there has been, at least in terms of incinerators, there were 2 that the DNR have permitted in the last 10 years, one being Shenandoah and the other one Ram Development, but those were different style burners than this one. So they're not as common with the DNR, but certainly they've been approved before.
And the air dispersing modeling, it's DNR told me we might need it. So it's up in the air if we need it or not. So the SES engineering fee could potentially be less than 11,000, or it could potentially be more if for some reason they had to go above and beyond on the air dispersing modeling.
The one thing that I don't know that we covered in the RFP, but there will be ongoing annual reporting or if not quarterly reporting with this permit process that we will likely, once we kind of get a better understanding, but we may or may not be able to do something in-house. I would more likely just rely, or for council's perspective, we would likely rely on engineering services to be able to complete that. So that'd be part of the ongoing operating costs moving forward. So The matters before you are one, the engineering services resolution, and then with that, if you would like us to change anything with what we have currently set up with the operations and the moratorium in place.
Well, we still have no idea when we're gonna receive this. Fill up pretty quick down there, don't you think? We've been waiting a while. I think the minute you open the gates, it's gonna fill up.
People are itching to get in there.
And it's probably tough to try and say, well, we're gonna open up to homeowners, but not to the contractors.
The one thing I did mention, but as a possible option, as a way to try to determine and control non-residents from dumping is with our new software Brightly, we could look to try to create another permit process with that so that residents or contractors would be able to complete a permit so that we know it's coming from the city. And it's just a way to control outsiders, because I know there are residents from outside the city limits that will come dump their tree waste there. And so whether you could look at it in such a way that you create this permit process through Brightly, you can decide to put a cost to it, or not put a cost to it. It just depends on that, but it'll be a way for at least to somewhat regulate and control who's dumping out there, and ensuring that it is coming from our city residents. The other piece of this, and certainly I think we've talked in the past about, there are certain sections of our ordinance that date back to 1996 and haven't been updated since then. We would likely, some of those definitely need to be updated. We would likely come back to you at the next meeting or in the near future on what potential changes need to be made so that we can have those in place before spring arrives and you see that, but expect some of those updated to the ordinances.
Okay.
So you want us to choose between the SCC and the Terracon?
The recommendation was for
SCC
SCS.
Yeah.
or S.
Yeah.
I'd move to approve the engineering with SCS and to apply for the DNR permits and authorization to secure the purchase order if everything goes through.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The 330,
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
Item I is resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute an agreement with Alexander Built Engineering Incorporated, professional engineering services associated with wastewater treatment plant.
So this item is related to the new construction of the wastewater treatment plant. We are currently in design. There is some additional information needed on the soil conditions out there. So this is a proposal for Alan Derbutsky, who's been doing all of our geotech for the project, to go out and do some additional boring. The estimate's approximately 42,000, and Bolton and Meek did review it, and they're recommending we go ahead and proceed with this proposal.
Okay. Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute an amendment to the original agreement with Brewer Engineering and Consultants, PLC, to provide additional engineering services needed to upgrade the City Hall HVAC system.
Yep, so we've been having issues with the City Hall HVAC system for over a year now. Brewer Engineering did do an analysis of our current system and provided some options and alternatives that we could look at. Staff would like to proceed with option 1, which is basically replacing the existing system. It's the least invasive and it was the most cost effective. The other thing that it will do is currently the boiler system discharges into the storm sewer, causes us to have a DNR permit for stormwater. This permit requires monitoring, reporting, and then we have to sample and take those samples to Ankeny, so that takes away from our staff time at the wastewater plant. This is a new regulation that kicked in within the last year. So we also wanted to eliminate the need for a stormwater permit. So this would recommend that we discharge into the sanitary sewer instead. So in order to get to that next step, we would need to have an engineer put the bids and specs together so that we can go out for letting and then start construction. Based on the recommendation to go with option one, this would cost approximately $560,000 to do. As part of the CIP, we did estimate 2 million, and that was based on the information we had at that time. So this is well under that $2 million. And then the life expectancy of this unit would be 25 to 30 years once we get there. So this is just that first step, getting the agreement with the engineer executed in an amount of 46,000 so that we can proceed with the design and the bid.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favour say aye. K is resolution authorising the city manager issue a request for quote for a 69 kV transmission line relocation project.
So back in May, you guys approved task order number 5 with DGR Engineering. This was tied to the 69 kV transmission line. This particular portion of the project is tied to the wastewater treatment plant. There is about 0.4 miles of transmission line that is currently, for lack of a better word to say, in the way of the wastewater plant construction. So this would temporarily relocate that line so that we can continue to work on the wastewater treatment plant project. Because it is under the $196,000 threshold for chapter 26 bidding, we are going to issue a request for quotes. And we estimate that will come in under $154,000. So we're just asking for permission to go out for quotes.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item. Oh, there's a resolution accepting and executing easement for Shiver Real Estate LLC for the new wastewater treatment plant project. Want to do that again in case you want more aerobics here, so.
So this is just tied to the outfall, the alternative outfall for the new wastewater treatment plant project. We were able to secure the easement for this pipe at no cost to the city, so we're just requesting that the council accept it.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're down to discussion on the Van Diest Supply Water Service request.
So there's a bit of a discussion item, as well as just a kind of general direction from the council on what your desired approach would be for this. So currently the city serves several customers outside the city limits and provides them with water service or water utility. Back in roughly about 1999, the city started plans for developing a booster pump station to serve Van Diest Supply. It's located this little building here, just to the east of Van Diest Supply by the rail spur. So that provides, we have a 12-inch line that runs clear out there. The booster pump station pumps up the water pressure with another water main running clear to roughly about this corner, if I remember correctly, this area. So Van Diest Supply has continued to grow over the years. They've added a number of buildings, and their operations and their distribution warehousing for their material continues to expand. They have requested the city consider some improvements, or I should say, so now they're looking at constructing a water tower to be able to better serve and provide them better water pressure, as well as primarily also serve for fire suppression, their fire needs as required by their insurance carrier. We initially had received and met with Van Diest Supply around this time last year to review the information. We've been working with Snyder and Associates and their water team on how best to serve them. They have since been working directly as well with Van Diest Supply to meet their needs. We were going down one path that initially entailed potentially constructing a second water main But based off of another assessment by Vandy Supplies insurance carrier this past summer, that assessment reduced the criteria and no longer required the construction of a second water main. However, now it's limited it to potentially building a water tower. We've been in touch through Snyder and Associates on some of the implications and looking at the feasibility of constructing a water tower. Currently, right now, the proposed plan would be to at this time consider potentially selling to Vandy Supply the portion from the booster pump station and the water main that goes out to serve them, and the parcel that it sits on. Part of the plans that Vandy Supply is looking at is constructing a water tower on the parcel where our booster pump station is located. From a maintenance perspective, if the city were to maintain the water tower, we'd have to look at the maintenance, regularly testing, the long-term painting and maintenance of the water tower and the booster pump station. This would really just serve Vandy Supply. Based on just our operational needs, it's not the most ideal situation to incur that burden. Vandy Supply seems open to the idea of purchasing that portion of our water utility and then being responsible for that. So those are the option that we're looking at right now. It would entail selling off booster pump station to parcel and continuing to work with Vandy Supply on the construction of a water tower. And so wanted to bring this back to council so that you are all aware and see if that's a reasonable approach that you're comfortable with pursuing. Back then, when this booster pump station was built out, the area was originally served, was part of Xenia's water district, although they did not have any assets or infrastructure. And so when the booster pump station was developed, there was initially a three-way agreement conceptualized where each entity, the city, Vandy Supply, and Xenia Water District would split the cost of that booster pump station and the operations or the infrastructure to serve that. Once it came to fruition and was constructed, Xenia backed out for whatever reason, and the city picked up their portion of the cost for that. The booster pump station is served by Mid-American Energy, not the city's electric utility. So we do have costs associated with maintaining and operating that booster pump station. Any questions that I may answer for you?
So from the booster station to Van East is the proposed what would be sold, and the water main running back to the city remains a city property.
Correct.
We're not making a motion, right?
Mainly just want to update you, and if there's any questions or anything that you would like us to bring back or follow up on. This is essentially you're selling a portion of your water utility, the assets that serve that.
What did the booster station cost to install at the time?
Saw that figure the other week. I want to ballpark about $500,000 or less at the time. This is year 2000.
I guess I'd rather look at the option of selling it versus, constructing and paying for the ongoing maintenance of another water tower.
I agree.
You do.
Okay.
That all you need? All I need? Call for motion to adjourn.
To approve.
Again.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Same place.
Yeah, same place tomorrow. You come back and watch us again tomorrow.
At same time.
5:30.
5:30, John.
High school used to have this huge bonfire. Can't we just do that again with the, all that? Is there? Yeah,
Oh,
I mean, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, we